Welcome to the Oklahoma City Board of Adjustment meeting for February 20th, 2020, which is now called to order. The first item on the agenda is to receive the minutes from the February 6th, 2020 meeting. Do we have any, do we have a motion or any changes to the minutes?
I think I have a change.
Okay.
Number 8, case 14663, I thought I abstained on that one. Did anybody pay attention? Okay. That shows I voted yes, but I thought I abstained. Okay.
Okay. Any other changes?
With that, I'll move approval.
Okay. As amended?
Yeah, with the one change. Thank you.
Sure.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second to receive the minutes from the February 6th, 2020 meeting. Cast your votes, please. And they're approved. Next item, well, before I continue, if you are not the applicant and you'd like to speak on a matter, we ask that you fill out one of these white forms and try to limit your comments to 5 minutes. Next item on the agenda is continuance requests or withdrawals. I believe we have one withdrawal.
We have item number 9, case number 14710 has been withdrawn.
Any withdrawal requests or continuances from the public? Okay. Next item on the agenda is items requiring a separate vote.
We have item number 1, case number 14714, request of Bonnie Miller, a variance to the building setback and the size of the height of an accessory building located at 13565 Deer Creek Drive.
The applicant present? Okay.
Hello, I'm Bonnie Miller. My address is 13565 Deer Creek Drive, Piedmont. We have been wanting to build a building for a long time. Our neighborhood association approved a 1,500 square foot building size and then the height to 14 foot. As you know, the city limits is 12 foot and 1250 square feet. I have an RV, which I need to have the 14 foot to be able to drive in and store it and keep it at the house. Also, I have a boat. I've got other things too. But that's my main purpose for building the building, is to have my own storage at my own house within my limits. So, and also this from the side foot, the 25-foot variance, which I wasn't aware of until we actually got into all this. That's it.
Yeah, that's
Appreciate it.
That's the one I was going to ask about. Could you talk a little bit more about the 10-foot encroachment into that?
I actually thought it was within the guidelines because I think the drawing that I have on there is actually over further. So I actually think the building will be within that 25 foot, but I'm not exactly precise on that because we hadn't measured it again since we did this. But it's going to be within really close, 20 to, 25 foot from the side.
Is the whole thing built, or is it just a pad, or?
No, there's nothing there yet.
Nothing there yet?
Yeah, no, yeah.
Do you have any issues of meeting that 25-foot setback?
As far as I know, it should be really close. But the last time we measured it, I know we have a high line that goes across there, and I know you have to be 15 foot from that, and we were plenty far past that, the center of the, the high line for the OG&E as far as that goes. And it's really close, so I'm not sure exactly what it is, because we just have the paved roads. We don't have concrete drive.
Yeah, I think that the uncertainty bothers me a little bit, just because one of the elements that we have to meet by state statute, is that the relief that you're requesting is the minimum necessary to alleviate the hardship that you have. And so generally we try to get people to say, what's the minimum, encroachment that you can have? If it's 1 foot, or if you can even meet the code, then you
I
wouldn't need
might be able to meet it. I don't know exactly how close it's going to be. The last time, my driveway where that line is that goes across there, that's the closest to the road, the building is actually basically straight from that. So with that part, it, you know, as far as I know, it should be the 25 foot, but I'm not exactly positive on that.
So just to shortcut it a little bit, I see a couple of, like, really two options. The board could approve any range, a 10-foot encroachment, a smaller encroachment.
Okay.
Or you could request a continuance until you get some certainty on that. The board might be in favor of granting the full request of 10 feet. I don't know. I don't know what the temperature of the board is, but those are the two options I see, whether either we grant it or we grant a continuance where you come back with a little bit more certainty on the exact number of feet that you would be encroaching.
Okay, well, could give me a shorter, you know, within 5 or 10 foot of that, then that would be great.
I think to have you not have to keep coming back here, I mean, I think I could get on board with 5 feet if you think that
Okay.
would.
All right,
Yeah,
alleviate-
20-foot setback.
within 5
Free.
foot? Okay, all right. That would be fine. We could do that.
Board members, any questions, comments? Is anyone else here to speak on this matter? Okay. No other comments, we'll take a motion.
So moved with 5 foot.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to approve case number 14714 for the reason that it meets the statutory conditions for a variance for each of the requests, subject to a 5-foot variance to the setback requirement. Cast your votes, please. And it's approved.
Okay, thank you.
Item number 2, case number 14715, request of Carlos Morales for a variance to the 25-foot side yard setback located at 17701 Southeast 149th Street.
Hello, my name is Carlos Morales. I'm here on behalf of Javier Gutierrez for 17701 Southeast 149th Street. Recently, we started building a home in the Nuala area. It's a 5-acre tract of land. Only downside, it's very narrow, so it's long on the 5-acre part. Originally, we decided we would plan to build the home in the center of the actual tract of land, just to get enough area. But when doing so, I'm planning and trying to get the electric there, the septic, the propane, and also the terrain of itself wouldn't allow us to build in the middle of the land. So then we was determined to move it towards the, towards the right, which would be the east of the side of the tract of land. I'm sorry, to the north. It was then determined that we would re-cement a drawing, just make sure we're okay on everything. But Javier and myself did forget that step on moving the actual lot itself. So the home right now is built. It's practically done. And Javier couldn't be here today. His lack of speaking ability in the English, he's not from here. But he did basically build this home with everything, all his revenue he had. So really the terrain wouldn't allow us to build in the center of it. There's a drop almost about 10 to 12 feet to where the center would be. So that's when we moved it over, and not knowing we're encroaching into the 25-foot setback area to there to see to the right. We recently got it surveyed on that land, on that side over there, and the survey does show that we were 5 foot encroaching into that right side.
Board members, any questions or comments? I think you have a peculiar piece of property. It's,
Yeah, do we know about how wide that is? It looks
Yeah.
really not very.
The actual lot itself,
Yeah.
or the acre tract?
Just
Yeah, the
curious.
acre tract is almost, I believe, like 100, and then 160, I believe. So we, and most of that 160, roughly about 50 of it is actual usable space. Everything else is just trees and drop-offs and
certainly don't like these coming after the fact.
Yes, absolutely.
But, I mean, I think I can get on board with it. I don't know if anybody has any questions or comments, or is anyone here to speak on this matter? I don't have anyone signed up. So. Do we have any motions?
I'll motion to approve case number 14715 by reason that it meets the statutory requirements for a variance.
A motion and a second to approve case number 14715 for the reason that it meets the statutory conditions for a variance. Cast your votes, please. And it's approved.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Item number 3, case number 14716, request of Glenn Short for a variance to an accessory building location and roof pitch located at 6409 West Captain's Drive.
Good afternoon. I'm Glenn Short. I live at 6409 Captain's Drive. Now it's West Captain's Drive, and that's out in Ski Island Lake. Let me begin by saying I'm also a licensed architect, a professional engineer, and I thank you guys for doing what you do in our industry. I have been before you, not individually, on behalf of clients, so we've done some PUDs and things like that. However, this is the first time that I've had the opportunity to speak on my own behalf, and being an architect, 40 years ago I designed my house, and my dad and I built it, and we raised our children there, and we bought 2 lots, and we've been able to keep lot 16 open for various reasons. We enjoy it. We have it landscaped. Quite honestly, the kids in the neighborhood as well as our grandkids play on the lot. So we bought, and I have some more pictures here if you need some other descriptions, but as we got older, we bought an antique car, and it needs a home that's a little better than my carport. So we decided to build another garage, if you will, or a garage. And I wanted this to be sympathetic to the house design, which is more contemporary. And we wanted it up near the house for a number of reasons that I'll just quickly explain. But when we got into the building permit and the zoning question, the 2 elements that I've tried to address in the write-up became paramount. One was the requirement for a roof structure, which was a pitched roof, hip, gable composition that then runs contrary to the house. I don't know if you can see this, but our design characteristics are contemporary rock, built up tar and gravel. Should I pass this around or just what? All right. I want to match that house, and the sketch that came with the project okay, so that's the architecture component of the variance. The other one is there's a requirement that you take the accessory building and you put it behind the rear line of projection of the house. We're unique in that we're on a corner lot. I don't know if you have a corner layout. This would be This layout shows the new building location that I'm proposing up near our house, and then the projected location it would have to be if it was behind the projected rear line of the house. And on this last sketch, you can see that the West Captain's Drive turns the corner, moving the accessory building to the east, does nothing to get it away from the street, which is the intent of the zoning. It actually just moves the building parallel to the street. Worse than that, what it does is it raises the elevation, wipes out some trees, and makes it more obvious to the public. So what I'd like to do is keep it up to the house, keep it behind some trees that are existing, and it will be lower, and there's a berm that runs in front of it. Now, and in front of the pickup is where I would put the garage. If I follow the zoning, it goes out into the field to the right, and you can see very clearly it has a worse exposure. So both the architectural intent and the reduction of the exposure to the street is better satisfied in my proposed location. There's one other thing that's informal, has nothing to do with zoning, and that is that the walkers, the joggers, the kids use that lot. So basically it's kind of a mini park in the area, and we want to keep it that way. So if you walked across the lot, which we see people do periodically, and they look down into the lake, which is 25 feet down, this is what they see. And this year, we have pelicans on the lake. So I got a little better picture as a result of that. But I don't want to keep our neighbors and the joggers and the walkers from having the opportunity to have that open space. That's the root of it. That's really probably the greatest of the three components. Oh, here's the last.
I've thought about some possible alternatives that you might be able to do, but at the end of the day, I think what you've proposed makes sense to me. Certainly have a peculiar shape and a peculiar piece of property, so I think that's in your favor. Hardship, I think, too, is met. I mean, I think you can meet the elements here. I'm only one board member, though.
Yeah.
That's the picture of the car that's causing the whole problem.
I'd say the whole neighborhood's peculiar at Ski Island.
Yeah, and the board's approved it. I mean, I went to them, and they have no exceptions. So, the board of Ski Island, not you.
Right.
Yeah, and one other thing that I take into consideration is what's surrounding this piece of property. And I think given what's surrounding this piece of property, it also tips in your favor to approve this application.
Yeah,
Are there any other comments from the board or questions?
Yeah, that car needs a nice home.
Sorry.
I said the car needs a nice home.
It needs a nice home.
Yeah. I'll move approval.
Okay. I have no one else signed up to speak.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. All right, case number. Case number 14716, for the reason that it meets the statutory conditions for a variance. Cast your votes, please. And it's approved.
Thank you again for the personal note and the professional note. Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, item number 4, case number 14717, request of Beck Wilcox for a variance to the platted front yard building setback located at 16001 Southeast 82nd Street.
Yeah, my name's Beck Wilcox, and I'm representing A-List Construction. They're the owners. I guess I work for them. I'm basically a superintendent. So on this lot, I've built, this is in Bella Ranch and Choctaw, it's acre lots. I've probably built about 13 or 14 houses for them out there at the 40-foot setback. This is the first one they had me build on a cul-de-sac, which this one was a 60-foot setback. I was doing several houses at a time. It was overlooked by me. It was basically a big mistake. So this house is sitting 40-foot back as opposed to the 60-foot required setback. So I'm here seeing if we can get a variance on this house. It was discovered after it went under contract, and we got a survey on it for somebody to buy it, which after that, of course, they backed out. So we're trying to get it back to where we could sell it.
Mr. Privet?
Yeah, every time, like cul-de-sacs and, yeah, every time.
Yep.
That's the kind of one thing that tips in your favor. I mean, I obviously wish there were a way to catch these on the front end.
Oh, yeah.
But where we've been reluctant to grant these and even deny these is when you're not on this cul-de-sac, you're not on this kind of corner lot, you're just in the line of other lots, and there's no real excuse. I think here you have enough of an excuse. It's a pretty large request, but those are my general thoughts.
What is the reasoning for more of a setback on that lot than 40?
That's a straight RA zoning, and the minimum lot width is 150 feet. And to meet on the regular lots that are straight, perpendicular to the street, that's easy to do. But when you have a lot that narrows at the front, where they have to push the platted building line back to meet that 150 feet. But generally, an RA setback is 40. And if this were in a PUD or something, we probably would have varied the setbacks on those corner lots.
If there aren't any other comments or questions, I'll move approval.
I'll second.
A motion and a second to approve case number 14717 for the reason that it meets the statutory conditions for a variance. Cast your votes, please. And it's approved.
Thank you.
Item number 5, case number 14718, request of Asa Highsmith for a variance to the front yard building setback in the DBD located at 23 Northwest 10th Street.
Asa Highsmith, 1816 Cary Place. I've got a little bit of additional materials I'm going to have him pull up. You guys don't mind waiting for 1 second. It's going to be a quick presentation, just hitting the high notes. Hopefully you guys had time to review the materials that we supplied, specifically the narrative, which I kind of break down our detail, which essentially comes to the fact that we believe the DDRC requirements along 10th in this specific corridor, the intent of, are to create vibrant, pedestrian-oriented commercial spaces. And we feel like the peculiarities of 10th in this area preclude us from doing that. The first page here is a view on Northwest 10th on our side of the street looking west across the facade of our building. You can see how close we are to the street, close we are to the 4 lanes of Northwest 10th traffic. If you'll go to the next one. So this is a few materials essentially from the packet, but this illustrates the area that we're proposing to demo. Go forward. This is the existing building next to our proposed condition. Go ahead, one more. Again, the same image. One more. Apologies. And then, again, another illustration of basically what we're proposing, a pretty quick and dirty graphic, but essentially we are asking to increase the minimum setback that's allowed in this area. We're allowed 10 feet. We're asking for 17 feet. Not quite double, but also, an additional 7 feet we don't believe is very much. We believe that the impact of it is actually far greater, though, in the positive, of course, for our project and for the city. Essentially, we don't believe that where the existing wall is, we can create a pedestrian-oriented place next to that many lanes of traffic with that much speed. The DDF, the Downtown Design Framework, contemplates this corridor as a 2-lane, and it hasn't been that for a very long time. If this was 2-lane and we had the same amount of front yard that we would have in that condition, then we think we'd be fine. Essentially, we're asking for this so that we can do, pedestrian-oriented patio in an area that otherwise would not allow us to go that far back. That's the gist. Hopefully, it makes sense, and the specifics, are have clarity and are well illustrated in our packet. So, really with that, I'd just open it up and ask you guys for any questions that you might have that I could answer.
Y'all adding any parking?
What is that?
Are you going to add any parking?
We did. So in between this project actually includes this building and the Hodges building that is next door, which actually has an existing far greater setback. Here's the site plan for the development. The building that we're requesting on today is on the left side of the screen. The other building as part of this project is on the right. The Hodges building is a big bunker of a building that we're trying to do our best with. It's got its own difficulties, but it's currently set back pretty significantly from the street. There used to be parking in front of that. We're turning that existing parking area into additional potential pedestrian patio space. This would essentially mirror that to some degree on the 23 Northwest 10th building, which is, of course, again, what I'm presenting on today. And it essentially puts it within within a setback range from the building that is to our west and this other, portion of our project, which is to our east. There's parking in between. Yeah, if that didn't answer the question.
Could we scroll up to the first picture that was on the PDF? This building, I believe that's to the east of the current application.
Correct.
That one looks like it's in line with the current setback.
It is.
And all the way down the street.
It is.
And so that's my only, I can certainly get on board with this potentially, but just if this is out of character with all the other buildings on that street, that would be a factor that we'd consider.
Sure. I would argue that it's not out of character. I think, for good reason, the building that is on the corner of 10th and Broadway does address the street. But again, we've got an existing building to our east, which is far setback, and there is the Twisted Spike Ales building and then train tracks. And basically from there on, our context is limited, I guess is what I would say. Where any other case, I would agree, we would want to be at the street. This is just that one in a million chance where with 4 lanes of traffic and the speed of cars there, we just don't believe it's a hospitable place where somebody's going to want to spend time. To me, it's essentially like, and forgive me for making a little bit of an embellished, argument here, but to me, it's a little bit like the token patios that they might put on a Starbucks on a service road, where nobody's ever actually going to sit out there, because what are you experiencing? And so for us, pulling it back from the street provides us, the character of a place where people would actually want to spend time versus having it, hard up against the street and losing some of the ability for us to meet the intent, I believe, of, DDRC's code and the DDF. I would have just add some additional color. We've got a lot of utilities. We've got underground gas. We've got overhead electricity, which prevented us from providing street trees. We've got, some of the smaller species that are available to us in that area. But this, bringing us back 17 feet also allows us to include, full height maturity street trees, which we wouldn't otherwise be able to do with a 10-foot setback. So we feel like we're adding the value back.
I appreciate that part of it particularly. I think that'll look great in that area.
And it does appear to put it more in line with the building east to it. The west building is right on the same line, but that east building is set back quite a bit.
As part of it, we're including a portion of the existing facade at it where it currently exists. We're selectively demoing back so that I think visually it keeps that same line that would be in line with the building that's currently all the way up to the setback to our west, but helps frame that patio in at the same time.
Board members, any questions?
And DDRC approved it this morning. Yeah.
Right, and say that. We did get approval from DDRC this morning.
I've got 15 people signed up in protest. Maybe people you've wronged in the past in the Planning Commission, but...
That is a possibility.
If there are no other questions or comments, we'll take a motion. I have a motion and a second to approve case number 14718 for the reason that it meets the statutory conditions for a variance. Cast your votes, please. And it's approved.
Thank you so much.
Item number 6, case number 14719, request of Rand Elliott for a variance to permit chain link fence in the DTD-1 Downtown Traditional District Limited located at 1200 North Broadway Drive.
Hello, I'm not Rand Elliott. Rand wasn't able to make it today. I'm Cody Pistolka. I'm an architect with Rand Elliott Architects, 1709 Oxford Avenue, Edmond. Here today to discuss a change on the site plan at the Oklahoma Contemporary Arts Center, just off of 13th and Broadway on Broadway Drive. This is an educational facility and arts center, and to the north portion of the building, we have an outdoor event center, which the owner envisions as being a place where a lot of children will be playing. So original design included hedges all the way around here as a security and safety feature. And then after more thought and consideration, we thought, to make this a little bit safer, we needed more of a permanent barrier, because even though these are going to be Nellie Stevens hedges, which are, very dense, still the chance of a child slipping through is not something we wanted to risk with Broadway Drive immediately to the west. So our proposal has been to have a 4-foot tall chain link fence basically embedded inside of the Nellie Stevens Holly. We know that on the street side, that's not something you'd normally do, and it's not allowed by zoning ordinance. But we are doing this on other locations, and we've done this solution before and found that chain link fence is actually really good with allowing vegetation to grow through it. So basically, it'll be invisible because of the Nellie Stevens Holly. This was approved this morning by DDRC on the condition that it's maintained. It does have permanent irrigation. The Kirkpatrick family is the owner. They've been invested in downtown since the 1950s, so we feel confident that it'll be well taken care of. So this is something we've given a lot of thought, and we feel that the solution meets the spirit of the zoning ordinance. And that's some examples we have up there. So Cafe 501, Nellie Stevens Holly. The previous one is Atrium Towers. It has a similar chain link screen embedded in it if you go up, I think one more. But basically, we'll have them at 3 feet on center so that they're so dense that it's a hidden security feature, basically.
Board members, any questions, comments?
Have you guys considered other materials, or is this just your preference?
This is just what we found does really well with the kind of octagon shape for hedges to grow through versus something vertical where it might kind of make the hedges grow a little bit differently. If you've ever seen hedges, any type of hedge really against chain link fence, it basically absorbs right through it. And it's small, it's low, it's, the chance that you would see through it is probably going to be less noticeable than something like a wrought iron or something.
Yeah, I think the intent of the code, or at least part of the intent of the code, is the unsightliness.
Oh, we agree, yeah. And, that's why we're wanting to cover it with hedges.
Yeah, so it's being covered here. I think it's being addressed. I could support it subject to the conditions set by the DDRC, which was that the hedges will hide the fence.
It'll be trimmed and watered, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Any other comments or a motion?
Second.
And these are the motions subject to the conditions by DDRC? DDRC. I have a motion and a second to approve case number 14719 for the reason that it meets the statutory conditions for a variance, subject to the conditions set forth by DDRC, including that the hedge will hide the fence and it will be watered and taken care of. Cast your votes, please. And it's approved.
Thank you all for your time.
Item number 7, case number 14686 and 14687, application for a special exception for Cheryl Bennett to allow home sharing in the HP district located at 809 Northwest 20th, apartment 811 and 811 and a half.
Hello, I'm Cheryl Bennett from 809 Northwest 20th. I own a fourplex there that I live at and want to make a couple of the apartments a short-term rental. I'm going to be marketing it mostly towards nurses, visiting contractors, that kind of thing, but would like to be able to also rent it if they come in for a couple of weeks.
Can you talk more about the properties that you're trying to rent?
It's the fourplex there, it's up and down on the left-hand side. They're just one-bedroom apartments. Like I said, it would not be accurate to call it an Airbnb since there'd be no breakfast. It's just short-term rental. And I want to be able to, they told me that I needed to get approval to do it for less than a month.
So it's both of these units on the left side, is that accurate?
Yes, it's a fourplex. They're up and down.
Would all four of them be available for rent?
No, I have one that I'm renting to a long-term tenant, and then I'm living in one as well.
Do these have separate addresses?
Well, they don't. Presently it's known as 809 Northwest 20th, apartment 811, 811 and a half, like that. So it's not really going to change the nature of the property. It's always been rental property. It's not really situated to where it could be anything else. And I found that since I've been doing it more towards short-term rentals, that I'm actually getting better people coming in. You know, they need to basically have a credit card and use a credit card to book it. And so they have a tendency to be more established and reliable than a lot of the tenants I've had before.
I think it would be different if all four were available for rent.
Mm-hmm.
I think the fact that two of them, I'd prefer that it were one of them, but potentially could get on board with two of them. But if it were all four of them, I think that would change the kind of nature of that entire street, really. Can you talk about the parking availability?
Well, there is some parking in the back. There's 4 places there, and then, of course, the street parking. If I needed to, I could take down a back fence and make some parking through the alleyway. The neighbor's done that. And actually, almost all of the property in that neighborhood is rental property. It's not going to really change much of anything. And it's, I've been looking into it for quite a while, and actually it has a tendency to improve the neighborhood. You get a lot of reviews, and so the person who owns the property is going to be highly motivated to keep it in the best shape they can. And also, one of the things that I've found in talking with a lot of people is that, frankly, they don't do it for that long. It's very high maintenance. You have to be there a lot to get people in and out, make sure everything's going well. You have personal property there that you want to keep an eye on. And so most people really don't last more than a year or two. And to be perfectly honest, I'd be surprised if I did much longer than that. I'm doing it basically so that I can hopefully bring in more income and be able to improve the property faster. And it would also allow me to black out a week or two if I wanted to make an improvement to one of the apartments. Tenants always want their property improved, but they get really annoyed if you're in there for 2 weeks hammering and dust flying everywhere. So it would actually give me an opportunity to upgrade it faster.
Yeah, and I should probably make my point a bit more clear than I did, but I totally understand if this entire street is rental properties, but I'm just saying I think there's a difference between long-term rentals and home sharing, short-term rentals, 30 days. The long-term rentals, even if it's for a year, 2 years, there's some sense of community there between the neighbors. Or if this whole street is short-term rentals less than 30 days, I think that's what the city council was trying to avoid with this.
Yeah, and I actually don't blame you. If it were, I can see the point, as I said, if people did it for really a long time, but most of them don't. They do it for as long as they need to do it, and it's just less trouble to go back to a regular rental property. And so I don't really personally, I don't see that as being a huge issue. And like I said, too, for the most part, they aren't going to be, like weekend guests or that kind of thing. They're going to be people that come into the neighborhood to work on a short-term basis. And there are actually apartments pretty close by as well there. It's, like I said, most of these are rental properties. And so far, my experience has been that they're more stable in general. And
so these are 2 one-bedroom units, right? These are 2 one-bedroom units, is that
Yes.
correct? Okay. So would it be a problem if we restricted the parking to only on-site parking? So put another way, if we prohibited on-street parking, since there would only be probably 1 car per unit per rental?
for those, that would be fine. I wouldn't have a problem.
I think that would be the condition I would probably want to add is no on-street parking.
You said you don't want to do this too long, 2-3 years?
Yeah, I suspect that will be true. I've had several friends that have done this kind of thing, and generally they don't last that long. They do it for, like I said, in my case, to upgrade the property faster. They have a specific goal in mind, and once they were done with that, they usually go back to a regular rental, and I don't really foresee doing anything different than that myself.
HB recommend 2 years. Yeah. Okay, I don't have anyone else signed up to speak on this matter. Board members, any questions or comments or a motion? Oh, can we get on the microphone? Yeah.
Sorry. Move to approve special exception 14698. Meets the requirements for a special exception of home sharing.
I've got, just to clarify. Yeah, there's the 2.
Parking not allowed on the street and for a period of 2 years.
Okay, and then just to clarify, this is for item 7. There's 2 case numbers, 14686 and 14687.
Those 2.
Okay. Do we have a second? Second. Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve case numbers 14687 and 14686 for the reasons that they meet the statutory conditions for the granting of a special exception for a period of 2 years, subject to the condition that there will be no on-street parking, and you'll have to advertise it as no on-street parking.
Okay.
Cast your votes, please. And it's approved.
Thank you.
Item number 8, 14698, is an application for a special exception of Alejandro Romero de Mastro to allow home sharing in the R1 single-family residential district at 2917 Northwest 69th Street.
Hi, I'm Haley Jarrett. My address is 22440 Lindy Terrace, and I'm here on behalf of Alejandro Romero, trying to get his home sharing approved. So I've brought information on the property. There is a working smoke detector, carbon monoxide detector, and a functioning fire extinguisher, and the house will be able to be listed for 5 people at a time on a short-term rental. There's also room in the garage for 1 car, and 2 cars can fit in the driveway. And if needed, 1 car can park on the street without blocking any of the neighbors or mailboxes.
How many bedrooms?
There are 2 bedrooms that will be available for them to rent, essentially.
Does that, am I understanding you correctly that there's 2 bedrooms available for rent? Does that mean the host will be on site in another bedroom?
As far as I understand, he won't be there when people are renting. It'll be when he's out of town for work or in another city for work that day. So, yeah.
And they renting them separate rooms or the house just with 2
No,
rooms?
the house is a
Okay.
whole.
All right, I got you.
So 2 bedrooms, up to 5 people.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, they usually lock, when the owners do that, they usually lock the master bedroom when they're in and out of the house when they travel, and they don't allow the customers in certain rooms. And they'll do the same with closets, cleaning supplies and stuff like
Is it correct to say that this is not his primary residence?
He works here and in Enid, so I believe his primary residence is in Enid currently, but
But sometimes he'll stay here and then he'll be on site. And he'll still need a special exception for when he's not here, at least to clear it up. Okay. Do you know, I mean, generally we've been granting these for, as you saw, 2 years, sometimes 1 year. I think the highest was 5 years. Do you know how long the request is?
I'm not sure. I guess it's just up to you guys on what you want to do.
Board members, any questions or comments? I think in this area, 3 to 5 years I'd be comfortable with.
I move that we approve application 14698 for a period of 3 years. Do I have the right number? Sorry. 14698? Okay. 14698 for a period of 3 years.
Second. I have a motion and a second to approve case number 14698 for the reason that it meets the statutory conditions for special exception. Cast your vote for a period of 3 years. Cast your votes, please. And it's approved.
Thank you.
Item number 9, case number 14710 has been withdrawn.
Okay. Seeing no additional items, communications, board reports, citizens to be heard. Any other business? We're adjourned.